The house smelled of rosemary chicken and lemon polish that evening, the kind of scent Evelyn prided herself on when guests were due to arrive. She floated around in her silk blouse, arranging cheese platters and wine bottles like she was hosting royalty. I stood in the corner of the kitchen wearing the same cardigan I had worn all week, waiting for instructions, because that's what I had been reduced to in this house: a shadow, a placeholder, an unpaid hand that had outlived her usefulness. The children, my grandchildren, ran in and out of the kitchen, their voices rising and fading like the tide. I was the one who had bathed them that afternoon, pressed their clothes, brushed their hair. I was the one who had wiped their noses and soothed their tantrums. But none of that mattered. To Evelyn, I wasn't a grandmother. I was labor, cheap labor. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. Evelyn straightened, adjusting her earrings in the mirror by the hallway. Daniel, my son, her husband, wasn't even home yet. "Answer that, Margaret," she snapped without looking at me. I did. "Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." The first guests entered in a swirl of perfume and chatter. Neighbors, friends, people Evelyn wanted to impress. She air-kissed them, led them into the living room, poured their glasses high with wine. I lingered at the edge, hands folded, heart heavy. And then it happened. Evelyn, in her bright, tinkling voice, waved her hand toward me as though I were a piece of furniture she was forced to acknowledge. "Oh, and this is Margaret," she said. Her smile widened, her words cruelly sweet. "The free babysitter we can't get rid of." The room erupted in laughter, polite at first, then sharper as the wine took hold. My chest tightened, heat crawling up my neck. I stood there frozen, my lips pressed tight while strangers chuckled at my expense. One of the men patted my shoulder as if I were a pet. Another woman whispered, "Well, at least she's useful." Evelyn beamed, pleased with herself, pleased with their reaction. I swallowed hard, my nails digging into my palms. My own son arrived just then, stepping into the room with his tie loose, his smile easy. Evelyn kissed him, whispered in his ear, and pointed at me. Daniel chuckled. He didn't defend me. He didn't even flinch. I excused myself quietly, retreating to the kitchen, my body shaking with shame. I leaned against the counter, staring at my reflection in the dark oven glass. Silver hair, lined face, tired eyes. The free babysitter we can't get rid of, that's what I had become to them. But as I stood there, the laughter echoing in the living room, something inside me hardened. I thought of the years I had given them. Every babysitting hour, every meal cooked, every sacrifice unacknowledged. I thought of Charles, my late husband, who used to tell me, "Don't let anyone write your worth for you, Margaret." That night, I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I didn't even speak to Evelyn when she swept past me with another tray of wine glasses. I stayed quiet, but in my silence, I was no longer small. I was planning. Because Evelyn believed she had made me the joke of the evening, but by morning, she would realize it wasn't me who was disposable. It was her. The laughter from the living room carried long into the night, but I stayed in the kitchen, invisible, as Evelyn paraded her guests through the house she called hers. She spoke about the new patio she planned, about the expensive school she wanted to send the children to, about Daniel's brilliant career. Every so often, her words would drift my way, sharp as knives. "Margaret doesn't mind helping," she said once, as if I weren't within earshot. "She's old, she has nothing else to do. Honestly, we'd be lost without her, but of course, she stays here rent-free. So, really, it's a fair trade." The guests laughed again, clinking their glasses. My fingers tightened on the dish I was drying, the porcelain threatening to crack in my grip. Rent-free. As though I hadn't poured my pension into this house when Charles died. As though I weren't the reason the mortgage still stood paid. The reason her children had food when Daniel's salary alone wasn't enough. When the last of the guests left, Evelyn stood at the doorway, smiling sweetly, waving them into the night. She closed the door, exhaled dramatically, and then turned toward me. "Well," she said, gathering the wine glasses into a tray. "You behaved yourself. I was worried you'd say something embarrassing. Thank you for staying quiet." She didn't even notice the way my eyes locked onto hers, steady, cold. She walked away, humming, heels clicking against the hardwood. Daniel stumbled into the kitchen soon after, loosening his tie, smelling of whiskey and sweat. He leaned against the counter, sighing. "You shouldn't take what she said so seriously, Mom. You know Evelyn likes to joke." "Joke," I repeated softly, the word bitter on my tongue. He shrugged, already halfway out of the room. "It's not that big of a deal. Just don't overthink it. She means well." And with that, he left me standing there, a glass towel in my hands, rage simmering beneath my ribs. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in the guest room they had pushed me into, the one with the peeling wallpaper and the bed too short for my aching legs. I listened to Evelyn's laughter drifting down the hall as she whispered to Daniel, mocking, dismissive, cruel. By dawn, I was in the kitchen, sipping coffee while the house slept. My eyes wandered across the photographs lining the walls, portraits of the children, of Evelyn and Daniel on vacations, of smiling faces captured in frames I had paid for. Not one picture of me. I had been erased from their story, reduced to a servant in the background. But something inside me shifted. For too long, I had played the quiet grandmother, grateful for scraps of acknowledgement. For too long, I had allowed them to mistake my silence for weakness. I thought of Evelyn's smirk as she introduced me to her friends. The free babysitter we can't get rid of. I thought of the way Daniel chuckled instead of defending me. I thought of the stranger's laughter at my expense. And I knew then, I wasn't going to wait for respect to be handed back to me. I was going to take it. That morning, while Evelyn slept in her silk sheets and Daniel snored in the room beside her, I unlocked the small chest in my closet. Inside were papers, bank statements, the deed to the house, and receipts Evelyn didn't even know existed. She thought she had married into security. She thought Daniel had provided her a kingdom. But the truth was simple. Everything she flaunted to her friends was mine. I gathered the documents, slipping them into my purse. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of decision. I wasn't going to confront her in a shouting match. That would only give her more fuel. No, this would be quieter, sharper, more final. I left the house that morning before anyone stirred, the sky pale with sunrise, the air biting against my cheeks. As I walked down the driveway, I could almost hear Evelyn's voice echoing behind me, smug and cruel. The free babysitter we can't get rid of. She was wrong. By morning, it wasn't me who would be left with nothing. It would be her. The house was already buzzing when I returned later that day. Evelyn was in the kitchen, her voice sharp and high as she argued with someone over the phone. Daniel sat at the table, rubbing his temples, a stack of unopened mail scattered in front of him. The children bickered in the living room, their voices shrill without me there to hush them. For once, no one noticed me as I slipped inside. I stood in the doorway and let the scene wash over me. Evelyn slammed the phone down, muttering, "Idiots, they have no idea who they're dealing with." Then she caught sight of me. Her lips curved into that familiar false smile. "Oh, Margaret, you're back. We'll need you to pick the kids up from soccer later. Daniel's busy and I have errands." Her arrogance was almost laughable. I didn't move, just set my purse on the table and slid the folder of documents across the wood. "Read those," I said. Daniel frowned, picking up the papers with one hand. Evelyn leaned over his shoulder, her expression growing tense as her eyes darted across the words. "What is this?" she demanded. "It's the truth," I said, my voice steady. "Every bill, every account, every piece of property you've been parading is yours. All of it, mine, paid for with my money, my name, my sacrifice." Daniel's face drained of color. Evelyn's mouth opened, then shut again. She grabbed the deed, her hands trembling. "This can't be right. Daniel, tell her this isn't right." Daniel didn't answer. He shuffled through the pages, his shoulders slumping lower with each one. It's her name," he whispered finally. "Everything. It's in Mom's name." Evelyn's face twisted, red blotches spreading across her cheeks. "You mean I've been hosting dinners, inviting people, showing off this house, and it was never ours?" Her voice rose to a screech. You let me humiliate her in front of everyone, and she's the one holding the leash. I looked her in the eye, calm as stone. Last night, you introduced me as the free babysitter you can't get rid of. This morning, you'll understand. You don't get rid of me. I get rid of you. Daniel looked up, panicked. Mom, please, don't. But it was too late. I pulled the final envelope from my purse and laid it on the table. Letters addressed to the bank. Notices of default Evelyn had stuffed into drawers, hoping I wouldn't notice. You've been living like queens and kings, spending money you didn't earn. But the truth is, this house, this life, it's been propped up by me. And I'm done. Evelyn lunged for the folder, but I pressed my hand flat on it. No more. I've already spoken to the bank. By next week, this deed will no longer sit under this roof. The accounts are already moved. You'll wake up one morning, Evelyn, and realize you've been left with nothing. The silence was suffocating. Daniel's eyes filled with something between rage and despair. Evelyn's lips trembled as she tried to form words, but all that came out was a strangled laugh. You wouldn't dare. You're too old, too soft. You need us. I leaned closer, my voice low, deliberate. Need you? I raised your children, Evelyn. I fed this house. I carried the weight of your life so you could pretend it was yours. But I don't need you. You need me, and that's exactly why this hurts. The children had drifted into the doorway now, their faces pale, their eyes wide. They didn't understand every word, but they understood enough. Their perfect mother's mask was slipping, crumbling right in front of them. Evelyn backed away, shaking her head. Daniel, say something! Stop her! But Daniel just stared at me, his lips pressed tight, his pride shattered. I picked up my purse, slung it over my shoulder, and walked toward the door. My hand rested on the frame for just a moment as I turned back. You called me a babysitter, a burden, an old woman you couldn't get rid of. But remember this, Evelyn, you don't own me. You never did, and now you don't even own the walls around you. I stepped outside, the air fresh and cool against my face. Behind me, I heard Evelyn's voice crack into a scream, heard the papers scatter across the table as she tore through them, desperate. But it didn't matter. The truth was already written. By morning, Evelyn wasn't the queen of a perfect house, or the smug hostess of shallow friends. She was nothing, and I was free. My daughter-in-law introduced me to guests as the free babysitter we can't get rid of. By morning, she was the one left with nothing. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.